Right, so those were the global tallies of the past 24 hours. Back here in Korea, authorities have extended COVID-19 prevention guidelines for 3 more weeks starting next Monday, albeit with a slight ease for social gatherings. CHOI MIN-JUNG joins me now. Min-Jung, good to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Right, let's start with the restrictions themselves.
Well, the measures have been extended, but they are relaxed to a certain extent. The country's prime minister announced on Friday that the limit on social gatherings will be raised from the current 4 to 6 people. But operating hours for businesses will still be limited to 9 p.m. amid lingering concerns over the country's COVID-19 situation. Let's take a listen to what the prime minister said.
The number of infections is no longer declining since this week. The Lunar New Year holiday is also coming up in 2 weeks, which is when people will travel a lot. The Omicron variant has also begun to spread rapidly since last week. On Wednesday, Omicron infections accounted for 20% of the total infections. It is closer to becoming the dominant strain.
The new measures will take effect for 3 weeks starting next Monday until February 6th, as the current measures are set to last until Sunday. This means the rule will be in place during Seollal, the Korean Lunar New Year holiday period, as well. And the Prime Minister has advised citizens to practice social distancing as much as possible during the holiday.
Right, and on the treatment front, Min-Jung, as you've been reporting over the past few days, the first batch of Pfizer's antiviral COVID-19 treatment pills arrived here in the country on Thursday, right? Tell us more.
Right, Sunny. The first shipment of Pfizer's pills arrived at Incheon Airport on Thursday afternoon, and they were delivered to a logistics center in Chungcheongbuk-do province later in the day. The initial batch is enough to treat 21,000 people, and of this amount, 70% is currently in transit for immediate distribution nationwide. Deliveries began at around 2 a.m. on Friday to around 280 pharmacies, as well as 89 residential treatment centers. Most will arrive at their destinations sometime today, and more remote regions like Jeju and other islands will receive them by Saturday. The remaining 30% will be kept in reserve at the logistics center, and they'll be supplied to regions where the pills are needed most, perhaps in places where infections are surging.
Right, of course. Now, on a more concerning note, Min-Jung, as Soa mentioned earlier, Korea reported yet another record high in imported cases, with many of them, I understand, linked to people returning from the Consumer Electronics Show over in Las Vegas last week.
Right. The number of imported cases, as you said, has again hit a record high on Friday with 409 cases. And Korea has also identified more COVID-19 infections among people returning from the Consumer Electronics Show, which was held in Las Vegas last week. As of Thursday, a total of 119 Korean attendees have tested positive for COVID-19. According to authorities, Omicron infections have also been identified in the pool, and given that the variant represents around 98% of cases in the U.S., it's highly likely that Omicron is responsible for the majority of imported cases linked to the trade show. And in light of this reality, authorities have decided to impose stricter quarantine measures for inbound travelers. Starting January 20th, everyone arriving in Korea must use designated buses, trains, and taxis that have been set aside to ferry travelers from abroad. This means these people will not be able to use public transportation, but they will be allowed to use their own personal vehicles. And on top of that, those scheduled to arrive in Korea will be asked to submit a negative PCR test taken no more than 48 hours ahead of their departure time. Currently, people are required to do this up to 72 hours before their flight.
Right, I see. And Min-Jung, what is the latest with regard to the legal battle over vaccine passes here in the country?
Well, Sunny, a court decision on the fate of the country's vaccine pass mandates may be handed down as early as today. A week ago, a court hearing took place after more than 1,000 people from the country's healthcare and religious communities filed a complaint against Korean health authorities. They demanded that the government repeal vaccine pass requirements at most venues, including restaurants and cafes. The Seoul Administrative Court has also issued an injunction for vaccine pass mandates at cram schools and study cafes. The upcoming court decision may be critical in shaping the government's future prevention strategy.
An official, meanwhile, at the earlier COVID-19 joint briefing did mention that the government is anticipating those results to come out soon. So when asked about whether any countermeasures are being prepared, given that social distancing measures have been extended for 3 additional weeks, this official said a total of 10 lawsuits have been filed so far regarding vaccine pass mandates, and that 3 of those cases are currently in court, which only affect individual venues. So for now, he downplayed concerns over any immediate setbacks for their new prevention measures that come in effect on Monday.